What's up, guys? Welcome to Double Chen Show. It's Dan.
Itchy.
And let's talk about Shanghai Disneyland. You're the biggest Disneyland fan ever. I love Disneyland too.
You went there as a child.
I went there so many times. No, it's just I got bored of it because I went there so many times.
How could you be bored of Disneyland?
I went there so many times. I went to the one in Florida, I went to the one in California, but then after we met about 4 years ago, we've been to Disneyland many times together and it's been awesome. So we, of course, wish anybody can go to Disneyland. And Mike's always a Disneyland pooper. He's like, wah, wah.
He's like, what's fun about that? I'm like, Mike, I need to take you on these rides and explain to you why it's awesome.
He won't like them because he only likes like crazy extreme roller coaster rides. Like,
does he though?
Yeah, he likes the upside down and all that stuff. Like I like the slow rides. Okay, I want to go on Peter Pan. It's a Small World. Little Mermaid. I want the slow ride where there's no like sudden like I'm not a.
Well, you also like you like the Matterhorn and
that's
other
nothing
ones
compared
too.
To.
No, I don't like extreme roller coasters. I really just enjoy the smaller, slower ones.
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I really like those. Because I feel like there's somewhere inside of me. I feel like there's a child that will never grow up.
You're somewhere inside of you. There's a Disney princess.
I feel more like a rabbit inside. Maybe you know what I really feel like?
Yeah.
The hair in Alice in Wonderland, because he's always late, and I'm always late.
Well, let us tell you about what's going on in Shanghai Disneyland. We did a bunch of stories leading up to this Shanghai Disneyland. Basically, before it opened, millions of people would go to the unopened park. There's an open section with retail and shopping and eating, but the park itself wasn't open until like mid-June. But before that, people were already basically completely destroyed Disneyland. Like,
you mean
completely
the downtown Disney?
The downtown Disney, or whatever they call it in Shanghai, right? Like, urinating, defecation, all the plants were trampled. I mean, just imagine, that many people.
Well, because there's so many people, and there's people from everywhere. And think about it, Chinese people have been wanting a Disneyland that was close to them for a long time.
Right.
If any Chinese person wanted to go to a Disneyland, the closest one they have is in Hong Kong or in Japan, depending on where you live, right?
Taiwan? No, Taiwan doesn't have one.
Taiwan doesn't have one.
Right.
So, now they have one in Shanghai.
Right.
Which, depending on where you live, could still be very far from you.
So imagine now. So now the park's open, of course, getting like
flooded.
Tons of people every single day. Mm-hmm. Imagine and it's not uncommon for people to drive 7-10 hours to go. Like, honestly, driving for Chinese people that long distance is nothing. It's like, it stinks, but they drive from a city, they get there, they wait in line. And imagine if you're there and a ride breaks down, or multiple ride breaks down.
And that's what's making the headlines right now, is that when a bunch of people went to the open Disneyland park in Shanghai, all of a sudden they're waiting in line for hours, and there's an announcement that the ride they've been waiting for has closed down unexpectedly. And oftentimes, whenever the rides close down, it's just indefinitely.
Right. Let's back up for a little bit. All right. We've been to Disneyland where one of our favorite rides closed down. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And here's why. Because for us, there's many different factors. One of the factors is it's not like we waited our whole lives to go here. So we feel like, you know what? If the ride closed down, let's go enjoy another part of the park and come back. And let's say it closed down for the whole day. Come back next time. There's always the next time, right?
But here's the thing. It's also because you and I, we're grown people now. When I was little and one of the rides closed down, I would actually be devastated.
Really?
Yeah, because I waited in line. All I've ever wanted to do was come to Disneyland. And and then tickets back then weren't that affordable. When your parents don't make that much money, they take you to Disneyland. It's like a once in a lifetime thing. You feel like it's a once in a lifetime thing. You don't know when the next time is gonna come. Because my parents they weren't stingy towards me, but they weren't like, oh, go wherever you want. Here's some tickets to Disneyland. It was like we planned it for at least a year before going. And so then if a ride, especially one of my favorite rides, closed down and I didn't know if it was gonna be fixed that day, I would be really, really traumatized.
Right. I totally get where you're coming from. And you take that example, multiply it in China by millions, and also by people who aren't as fortunate, let's say, to get to visit. So they finally go.
They save up.
They save up.
Make
they go.
them 1,000-mile drive or flight over to Disneyland in Shanghai.
Ride closed down.
Rides closed down.
Look, I'm not saying they don't have a right to be angry. Of course you have a right to be angry, but look, basically they're making a huge hoopla, and Disneyland basically they gave them another pass for that day. They're not gonna refund the money, but they're like, look, you can come back another day. But what I wanna say is, This stuff, it's an amusement park, people. These things will happen, and it's actually for your benefit so you don't die. The reason they close the ride down is because you're talking about machines that is, like going on a track. It might not, it's not like state-of-the-art machines here.
If you think about how many people take those rides, I mean, the California Disneyland is crowded all year round, especially in the summertime. And I recall going, just these past few years, going every time. I don't know if it's the machines getting older or something, or just too many people are going on them. Yeah. But every so often the ride would break down, especially the larger ones like Indiana Jones. That one would break down a lot.
The Haunted Mansion, like it's like a 2-hour ride. You're like, and the thing.
It keeps stopping. It keeps stopping. It keeps stopping. And I have to say, this is something you have to expect especially when there's a large amount of people coming in daily.
So. Relax, that's the thing, okay? And also there are other parts of the park. And if you're a parent, I urge you, there's so many guides for parents, and not just China, America, how to make the experience good for the kids. Like you said, you were really disappointed. So I'm a big advocate of the parent basically doing the research and understanding that these situations will occur and learning how to deal with it for you. For example, telling you beforehand, honey, I know you waited your whole miniature life for this. You're 7 or 6 years old, but let me tell you, sometimes the ride may stop. And if it does, that's okay. We'll take you back, and and it's because they're fixing it. It broke.
100%. This is totally like a two-side story, right? On the one hand, I can completely understand why the Chinese tourists who are coming to the Disneyland park are so disappointed when the rides broke down. And I don't know what the exact situation, maybe they didn't say when it will be fixed. And a lot of people were complaining that why didn't you tell us beforehand that this might happen?
Because they don't know.
Well, of course, but the park visitors would also, maybe they haven't been to Disneyland that many times, so they don't know that this is a frequent occurrence.
Right.
That's a big thing. Now, in the future, if they go to Disneyland more often, maybe they'll realize, hey, the rides oftentimes will need to be fixed and go under maintenance, and they'll be more likely to be more understanding.
Right.
But at this very point, Disneyland is a new thing. A lot of people who are going there probably haven't been to the ones abroad, and so they don't know what to expect.
And look, and I do want to criticize this. Yes, you have a right to complain, but you should also be civilized, okay? There's not enough, and this is why Chinese tourists are being called uncivilized, because this is what being civilized means. It means that when something bad happens to you, and you're not dead, and no one stole money from you, or in this case, they're like, yes, they did, but it's why can't you just be oh, this is an unfortunate incident. Okay, we paid money, we came in, but look on the bright side, there is a whole nother section of the park we can enjoy, and we'll come back. That's being civilized, and not being throwing your arms up. Basically, uncivilized is when the tourists put themselves in the center of the universe, and that's why.
And they throw a tantrum.
And then they demand things, and that's why when Chinese tourists go outside to the world, people are like, wow, we don't behave like that. Yeah, there are instances of doing that, but in general, people don't behave this way, and that's the part where I'm like, no, you gotta be civilized.
I do hope that it wasn't large parts of the park. And I read in the report, it said that not the whole park was shut down. Right. It was parts of it. But if there were several rides shut down at a time, people might have been like, well, we're only here for the day. Why is part of the park shut down? And I feel like you're right. I feel like people should know how to handle these kind of things better. Right. But I also think that if the Shanghai Disneyland park it knows that it's going to accommodate so many people, it needs to be prepared for this kind of thing.
I'll tell you right now, there's no way they're prepared, because it's a different ball game. When we're talking about Disneyland here, and you're talking about the number of people and the craze factor, there's no way. They would have to build it 10 times the size. It would cost 10 times the money. Of course they're not prepared.
They should just invest more. I think, I don't know how easy it is for them to do that, but Disney also needs to manage that park, specifically knowing that there's going to be that many people. It needs to learn how to accommodate, or else it's never going to work.
It's never going to work.
And I feel for the people who flew in for that day, saved up the money to go, and wasn't able to go on the ride they wanted to, because the next time they'll come, they don't know when. Yes. But at the end of the day, we should all be nice about things. We should try to be civilized. If at the end of the day, if the rides are closed, then I feel like there's something that could be worked out.
Exactly.
And it needs to be pointed out that Disney eventually caved and was like, hey, here are some one-day passes, which they can use for the rest of the year.
And again, the humility and the humbleness and all of this stuff starts from the parents. That's where you learn it. So when you take your kid there, you know, teach them the right thing so that when they grow up, they don't throw a hissy fit when something bad happens to them.
I'll tell you this much though, my parents are Chinese and I know there's a bad rep for Chinese tourists, but when I was little and we went to these big parks, my parents always told me to wait really patiently, and then they're like, you know, sometimes the lines are long, but that's because everyone, including kids like you, they really want to go on the ride.
Exactly.
So just, you know, take it easy. Sometimes the rides were closed. I was disappointed, but you know, they try to comfort me. So I gotta say, my parents did a pretty good job in trying to teach me that.
Exactly.
I sure do hope that they learn to accommodate a lot of people at that park, because I don't like it when kids are disappointed. But you know, every kid needs to learn how to deal with disappointment in life, because it's not gonna be easy.
Exactly.
It's not gonna be easy.
If they don't learn now and they're getting, you know, everyone throwing hitsy fits because the ride broke down, you're not gonna go far in life, okay? So anyways, guys, let us know what you think about
this situation.
If that happened to you, what would you do?
Also, I'd like to know what everyone's favorite ride is in Disneyland, because I love Disneyland so much and would like to think what you think about it.
That's right. What our favorite rides were: Pirates of the Caribbean, Peter Pan.
Oh, Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Pretty much, It's a Small World. All of them.
All of them.
Anyways, guys.
All right.
Thanks again for watching.
Bye.